Guys, can you hear me? Am I audible to all of you? Just let me quickly ask this question. Guys, can you hear me? Do answer me a yes. Okay, I'll just give me a moment. There's some glitch going on. I am not able to share the screen. Okay, just a moment, guys. Okay, this seems to be working now. Okay, this is good. Great, guys. So a very warm welcome to all of you. A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I have been in a tizzy and I think I just forgot to connect the right room or something like that. So hi, Julia. Hi, Kiran. Let me see who all are the people I can see. Hi, Naveen. Hi, Eunice. Hi, Cosma. Hi, Shubham, Lavanya, Ishita, Rachel, Julia, Abhinav, Shikhar. Then I can see Mary Jane, Siddhi, Manisha, Kshitij, Shivam, Shelly, Prachita, and Richa. Great. Very nice to have all of you guys, and a very, very warm welcome once again to all of you. Today, we are going to look at some common patterns that are tested on the GMAT CR. I'm sure a lot of you at different times have encountered certain structures in GMAT CR questions, and you have maybe recognized those structures as being commonly repeated. All right. So while I set the tone of the, or let me set the agenda, I would love to hear back from you guys, the others. Where are you from, and at what stage of preparation you are at, and what are the problems that you face in CR. In the meantime, a quick intro about myself for those of you who do not know me, for those of you with whom I have not interacted. My name is Sunita and I'm the verbal head at GMATViz. I'm also the lead course architect of the GMAT verbal course at our at GMATViz platform. I've got over a decade of teaching experience, guys, and I've mentored thousands of students. I love teaching. That's the best introduction that I can give about myself. I love teaching. I love to find simple solutions to, let's say, repetitive problems. And that's what we're going to look at today. In fact, today's session is an outcome of looking for those simple solutions to certain kinds of GMAT CR questions. So what we're going to look at today are 4 very commonly found construction patterns on GMAT CR questions, okay? I'm talking about construction patterns. I'm not talking about assumption, we can evaluate type of pattern. I'm talking about patterns found within these question types. So we'll discuss that. And then we'll talk about a couple of frameworks, or let me put it this way, guidelines that we have developed at GMATViz that can be used to pre-think on these common constructions, okay? And then, of course, we will talk about the power of applying these frameworks, how that can help us solve questions easily. So, yes, let me hear from you guys. Hi, Anupam. Hi, Abhijit. Okay, Abhijit is from Mauritius and Kiran is from Doha. You started your GMAT prep recently. Great. So, guys, a quick question to all of you. How many of y'all find pre-thinking difficult? It's a simple question. I'm putting up a poll there for you guys to answer that. How many of you are uncomfortable or unsuccessful at pre-thinking? When I say unsuccessful, I'm not saying sometimes you're successful and sometimes you're unsuccessful. I'm talking about an overall thing that you find pre-thinking difficult. Okay, so I've got 100% answer on that. It means all of us, probably including myself, till a while back, pre-thinking was something that wasn't easy to do in under 2 minutes in the exam, right? Great. Okay, so let's talk about how those frameworks are born, guys. Now, when we talk about pre-thinking, one of the most common problems that I have come across students discussing with me is, I don't know in which direction to pre-think. I don't know what to think. Okay, I've read the question, okay. I've reached the conclusion of the stimulus, okay, but I just don't know what to pre-think. Okay, and when I don't know what to pre-think, I start pre-thinking in different directions. Sometimes I overthink, sometimes I think in the wrong direction. And what happens is I come up with some sort of half-baked or incorrect assumption. And keeping those assumptions, those half-baked, those incorrect assumptions in mind, I start looking at the answer choices. Obviously, then when you don't find those half-baked or incorrect assumptions among the answer choices, obviously then you're at a loss and you'll end up choosing the incorrect choice. So this is what I have repetitively heard from my students while interacting with them when we're talking about pre-thinking. All right. So that that kind of set me thinking that was there a way to solve this problem? Was there a simple framework or a guideline that I could provide to the students and say, okay, guys, if this is this particular kind of question, you can think in along these lines, okay? And under those 2 minutes, perhaps sometimes, or at least most of the time, you can come up with at least one or two answer choices or assumptions with the help of those frameworks. So that gave rise to the framework. All right. It's a very simple guide which you can use to pre-think more efficiently. That means saving time and effectively. That means those kind of answer choices are likely to be found, those kind of pre-thought assumptions are more likely to be a part of your answer choice. Okay. So a very quick disclaimer before I discuss the most common construction types. Please, guys, remember these are not the only types of questions that you will find. These are not the only constructions. But I have seen through my research while going through the various OGs and the verbal reviews and the GMAT Advanced and the GMAT Prep questions and so on and so forth, what I found is these are the four very commonly occurring construction types, especially among questions on assumption, strengthen, weaken, and evaluate. In these category of questions, you are more likely to find these four common construction types. But that doesn't mean those are the only construction types, okay? So what are these construction types? One of them that I identified was plan goal questions. Now, what do I mean by plan goal questions? So these plan goal questions could be an assumption question, could be a strengthen question, could be a weaken question, could also be an evaluate question. You would be asked to identify the assumption behind the plan. You might be asked to strengthen the plan, weaken the plan. You might be asked to evaluate whether the plan will work or not. So in such cases, the stimulus contains usually a plan with a specified goal. All right. And some details are given about the plan, how the plan will work, some mechanism of the plan is given, and then the goal is also given to you. The conclusion will usually talk either about the success of the plan or the failure of the plan, and you would have to find out the assumption behind it or the strengthen the such a conclusion or weaken it and so on. So this is one common type. How many of you have come across such kind of construction types? I'm just going to put up a poll for that. How many of you have come across plan goal questions? So Prachita says, sometimes I don't think at all. Prachita, not a very bad strategy actually. Sometimes it is best to understand the stimulus better or understand the stimulus in a way that even if you can't pre-think, you can eliminate the answer choices, okay? Great. So all of you have come across this plan goal type. Great. And today we are going to look at the framework that we need to use to pre-think on a plan goal question. That is one of the things that we're going to do today. Now, apart from the plan goal questions, there are these causality questions. In fact, I have kind of come to believe that a huge majority of the official questions of these four types, assumption, strengthen, weaken, evaluate, are causality based questions. Now, what are causality questions? These kind of questions have a causality in the conclusion of the argument. That is, the conclusion will usually state that this caused this, or so and so led to so and so is responsible for something. So a conclusion that contains a cause and effect relationship, such kind of questions we call causality based questions. And again, today we're going to look at a framework where we are going to look at how to solve these causality based questions. Okay. All right. So these are the two frameworks that we're going to discuss today. Apart from this, on the GMAT platform, you will also find 2 other common construction types and frameworks for these. Those are the comparison questions. Now, in comparison questions, usually there will be provided 2 scenarios. Now, these 2 scenarios could be anything, maybe 2 methods of doing something, and a comparison is drawn between these 2 methods. So let's say you have method A of losing weight, you have method B of losing weight, and a comparison is drawn between the 2. Some advantage or a disadvantage of one or the other is given, and then a conclusion is drawn that one method is better than the other. I'm giving an example of method, but the 2 scenarios can be anything. Okay. And then you have to solve the question based on this key. If a particular method is stated to be advantageous, what is the assumption behind it, or strengthen it, or weaken it, or evaluate it, and so on. So you have typical these comparison questions. And then finally, not so common but found nonetheless, you have these quant-based questions. Quant-based questions are not really testing your quant prowess. They are just questions that require you to understand a very small quantitative concepts related to profits and percentages. Okay, so you do get about 2 to 5% of the question types based on this. Okay, so these are the 4 common construction types. There are a lot more other types, but they aren't that common. The pattern cannot be set actually. There's something else that I'd like to mention. Sometimes you may get a single question which can have multiple construction types inbuilt in them. For example, you can have a plan goal question which needs you to make certain, let's say, calculations about profits and percentages. Or you might have a question having 2 plans and those 2 plans are being compared and so on. So today we are going to discuss frameworks for the plan goal questions and frameworks to be used to pre-think for causality based questions. Are you clear, guys, so far till whatever I have said? Anupam is asking a very important question. Is it a prerequisite to read the question first before reading the CR passage? Anupam, I've got a very simple answer for that. Let's say you have a very simple question stem. Let's say you have a question stem like, which of the following most strengthens the argument? Now, even if you don't want to read this question stem first, your eyes will automatically fall on that when you look at the screen. All right. And I'm not averse to looking at this question stem even before I'm looking at the stimulus. But if you have a question stem which is a long one, okay, then it makes no sense to read the question stem first, because what will happen is even if you read the question stem first, you will come back and reread that question stem after reading the stimulus. Therefore, I think reading the question stem first is okay if at a glance you can make out what it says. But if it is a long one, it's got some meat into it, I would say read it after reading the stimulus, Anupam. Rohan says pre-thinking should be done after reading question stem or just after the passage. So Rohan, I think you need to understand. Understanding the stimulus needs to be done while you're reading the stimulus, but you have to know in which direction to pre-think before you pre-think. So read the question stem before you pre-think. Question stem analysis should be done before pre-thinking. All right, so that you're pre-thinking in the right direction. Jaspreet, I will talk about the causality questions in detail. Don't worry. I'll talk about everything in detail. Right now, I've just mentioned that you can have questions where a causality is mentioned. For example, let's say in the stimulus, the author gives you some data, some premise, and the conclusion says X caused Y. So such kind of questions are known as causality questions. And very often you're asked to identify the assumption behind the conclusion. That means assumption behind the causality, or strengthen the causality, or weaken the causality, or evaluate the causality. Okay, so let's dive right into our first framework without wasting any more time. Now, let me begin with this question. Okay, I am going to give you 2 minutes to solve this question. Solve it the way you normally solve questions, okay? And then I'm going to talk about how to apply the framework when solving such questions, okay? So your time starts now, guys. I'm going to give you 2 minutes and I'm going to mute myself in the meantime. I'll bring up a poll for you to put in your answers. Moment, Anupam, I'll make it bold. Jasprit, I think you'll have to fix the resolution of your screen because, guys, are you able to read the font? Let me just see if I can do something to the font as well. Okay, guys, your time is, you're welcome, Jasprit. Okay, so I'm going to give you 10 seconds. I'm going to count 10 and I will end the polls. So if you have your answers ready, please put in the answer choice. It's not a very difficult question. There is a purpose behind taking up this question so that I can explain the framework to you better. Okay, here goes. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, guys. Let's look at the poll results. Now, 5% of you have marked A as correct. None of you have voted for B. Another 5% of you have gone for C. But very telling is the fact that 40% of you have marked D and 50% of you have marked E. That means the class today is divided mostly between two options, D and E. Whenever you have this kind of answer choices going, it's very clear that something has gone wrong somewhere. So Prachita, you're asking me to look at elimination of words like most, some. I have an article written, Prachita. I will share the link to that article. It's on the GMATVERBAL blog. You can go through that article. The article deals with using words like most, some, how to use them, how to look at them. We call them quantifiers and qualifiers, and that will really help you. Okay. For the time being, let me focus on this. All right. I'm going to give you the link to that. So, Prachita, just remind me if I forget. All right. All right, guys. Now, I want all of you to pay very close attention to how I am reading the stimulus, because the framework that I'm going to teach today is going to be effective only if you have understood the data properly. If you haven't understood your stimulus clearly, you will go wrong, guys. The choices will trip you up. 40% of you chose D, 50% of you chose E, clearly shows that somewhere some of you have gone wrong. You're welcome, Prachita. So just remind me if I forget, okay? I am going to now start with my analysis. So here's the framework. Now, as I said already, that the framework will work only if you have read and understood the argument. Okay. And this framework is to be applied after you have read the stimulus, after you have read the questions 10, that is during the pre-thinking stage. So this was the stimulus, and the question was we had to support some prediction. All right. Now let's the step one is basically understanding the stimulus, analyzing the stimulus. Okay, so I'm going to read the first sentence. Now at GMAT we also tell you how to read a single sentence to understand the meaning of that sentence correctly, and that is why we start our course with SC first, then we follow it up with CR, and we follow it up with RC. So in SC we teach you how to understand the meaning of a single sentence, and that helps you in CR as well. CR, we talk to you how to understand an argument, how to put together the meaning of 2-3 individual sentences to consolidate the meaning of this stimulus. I'm going to show you that today. And then after that, we go to RC. So this is how the course is designed. Anyways, let me read and show you how I would read this sentence. In parts of South America, so I'm talking about South America, vitamin A deficiency is a serious health problem, okay, especially among children. So this is a statement, this is just a fact, it's a premise, and the author is telling us what kind of problem is faced in a certain part of the world and among which category. The second sentence, in one region. So now when I say in one region, probably I'm talking about one of the regions in South America. That is how I'm going to relate back to the previous sentence. Agriculturists are attempting to improve nutrition. So what is the goal? To improve nutrition by encouraging farmers to plant a new variety of sweet potato called SPK004. And this SPK4 is rich in beta carotene. And this beta carotene is something that the body converts into vitamin A. Long sentence. Okay. Now, the second sentence is also a premise, and it contains a plan and a goal. Okay. So the goal is to improve nutrition. Okay. And the plan is to plant a new variety called SPK4. And the mechanism of the plan is this SPK4 contains beta carotene, which will be converted into vitamin A. Okay, so that's the mechanism of the plan. Now, there's a question to all of you guys, and answer me very frankly, okay? Very frankly. How many of you thought that the goal was to remove vitamin A deficiency? How many of you thought that the goal was to remove vitamin A deficiency? How many of you thought that? Please be honest. How many of you thought that the goal was to remove vitamin A deficiency? So if I now present the poll results, guys, 85% of you thought the goal was eliminating vitamin A deficiency, but that is not the goal. The goal is to improve nutrition. Okay. And if you chose an answer choice which says that vitamin A deficiency will get cured, then you chose the wrong answer. Okay. This is why reading of the stimulus is so important. Emphasizing on understanding the goal is so important. Thank you for being honest with me, guys. Thank you so much. So we stand corrected. So the goal here really is to improve nutrition, and part of that improving nutrition is definitely to overcome. So this is like the the intermediate goal, let me put it this way, but the actual goal is to improve nutrition, and that is by growing SPK4. And how will that work? Because the mechanism is SPK4 contains a lot of beta carotene, which can be converted into vitamin E. So this kind of reading is required. All right, let's read further. The plan has good chances of success. Clearly, this is an opinion, guys. Plan has good chances of success is clearly an opinion, right? And the author is backing up that conclusion by another fact. What is that fact? What is that premise? Sweet potato is a staple of the region. So indirectly, the author is telling us people of that region are open to eating sweet potato. So if we grow SPK4, they will probably eat that as well. And then the second data point is the varieties currently grown. So we're talking about the varieties of sweet potatoes that are currently grown. They don't contain much beta carotene. All right. So with that, we move to step. Okay. Step 1 will also include analyzing the question stem. Question stem is saying most strongly supports the prediction that the plan will succeed. So now what do we mean by plan will succeed? Success of plan equals to achievement of goal, right? Now why I'm discussing this in such detail, you might be wondering, because this is where people go wrong. If achievement of goal is the success of plan in this case, what is the goal? Goal was to improve nutrition, right? Righto. Which means my prediction is nutrition will improve, and I have got to support this. So whichever choice tells me nutrition will improve by, whatever steps that will be taken to improve nutrition will improve, will be my answer. All right, guys, are we clear so far? So analysis of the stimulus is very important. Are we clear, guys? This entire thing, what we have discussed so far. If you're clear with this explanation, let me know with a yes. Again, have patience, bear with me, because we're going to talk about things where we can go wrong. Half of you have marked one choice, the other half of you have marked another choice. Let's see which choice is correct, all right? And be patient. I'll show you how exactly to reach the correct answer choice in that 2 minutes. So if you've read your stimulus properly, if you've understood your goal, if you've understood the interplay of the premise, if you've understood the conclusion properly, and if you know exactly what you're looking for, it becomes easier to pre-think. And in fact, as one of you was saying earlier, you don't even pre-think sometimes. That's okay. If you have understood the stimulus properly, it's okay not to pre-think. But it's not okay not to understand the stimulus. Sorry about that double hammer, okay, the double negation, but you have to understand the stimulus properly. All right, let me move ahead with my... Now here comes the framework, guys. Pre-thinking. So the framework will be, the first step is to identify the exact plan. And as I said earlier, that a lot of you thought that removing vitamin A deficiency was the plan. No. Okay, be very clear about what the plan is. Sometimes the plan is shrouded in some double plan or something and we get lost. So you can write down the plan if you want, you can write down the goal if you want. So the plan is to plant new variety SPK004, and then the next step is to identify the exact goal. As I said, the goal was not vitamin A deficiency, removal of that. So you've got to be very precise. And the goal here was to improve overall nutrition. Okay. Now, with identification of plan and goal, the third step is to follow 3 guidelines. Now, in the exam, you cannot possibly follow all 3 guidelines. You don't have to follow all 3 guidelines. You can use any one guideline to come up with an assumption, or you can use 2 guidelines to come up with assumptions and whatever. The first guideline is think what happened during the planning stage. It's a plan goal question. Put yourself in the shoes of the planner and think, what were you imagining would happen if SPK4, when you thought that SPK4 should be planted? Okay, try to think of some unknown factor that's not given in the paragraph. All right. So here, for example, the plan is to encourage growing SPK004, right? And do we know, but I mean, if you're the planner, you must have thought that SPK4 can be grown successfully, but that is not given in the argument. That means you must have assumed something, right? What if conditions are not suitable, and in that case, SPK4 may not be able to be grown in the region? In that case, the plan is going to fail. So one of the strengths on this question would be the author has assumed that the conditions in the region are favorable for growing SPK4. All right. So again, it's a simple, very logical thing to think whenever we're talking about a plan, that whatever the planner has imagined, everything is going to happen. So one of the things that the planner has imagined is that SPK4 actually can be grown. The second guideline is to think about what happened when the plan was carried out, or what can happen when the plan is carried out. So in the paragraph, we are just being told that agriculturists have decided to encourage the growing of SPK4. But we can think what might happen once that plan is put into action. Okay, so the passage only talks about the benefits of SPK4, but we can think, will there be any negative impacts of SPK4? We don't know that. What if SPK4 does not have some other nutrient? It has vitamin A enhancing capacity, but what if it doesn't have some other nutrient? So vitamin A will increase, but some other deficiency may occur and the plan will fail. So the agriculturists believe that SPK4 does not lack any other nutrient that might harm nutrition. All right. That's another strengthener using the second guideline. The third guideline is you can think of any other connection, if you can, between the plan goal. For example, here, for the plan to work, okay, what has to happen? What is the necessary thing that has to happen? But something that has not been given. Say, for example, in this case, agriculturists believe people will also eat the new variety. Okay, we know that sweet potato is a staple, but this new variety, will it taste good to them? Will they like to eat it? Will they be willing to change their diet, the kind of diet they are taking in? All of these things have also kind of been assumed. All right, what if SPK4 does not appeal to people? They won't eat that, so the plan will again fail. So agriculturists have thought that people of the region will be willing to eat SPK4. All right. So 3 very simple assumptions or strengtheners in this case that we have come up. All right. So step 3 is where we'll go to the answer choice elimination. But before that, guys, let me know if all of this is clear. Please let me know if all of this is clear. How we use the framework to come up with 3 assumptions or 3 strengtheners, as in this case. Is it clear? And it's very simple, guys. Whenever you get a plan goal question, just start thinking like this. Okay, I'm the planner. What have I thought? I'm executing the plan. What can go wrong? What can happen? All right. Is there anything else that I can use to link the plan and the goal? And it could be different in different questions. It could be demand, it could be supply, it could be cost, it could be revenue, it could be profit. As you solve more of such questions using the same approach again and again, you will find you become very accustomed to using the approach. Okay, guys. So thank you so much for your response. Now let us move to answer choice elimination. Now, the final nail in the coffin is when you read the answer choice properly. Now, very small percentage of you mark this. Okay. Remember, we are supporting this plan, not any other plan. Okay. So whether other vegetables also contain more beta carotene is not our concern. Remember, the concern is to improve nutrition. So whether some other vegetable contains more beta carotene and more vitamin A can be got is not our concern. All right. This choice doesn't tell us whether this plan has good chances of success or not. It talks of other plans. So an alternate plan is never going to be the correct answer on a plan goal question. So A is out. Let's move to B. B says the flesh is different. Okay. It is different in colors and texture. And the traditional food would look different. But different in what way? Good way, bad way? We don't know. Therefore, this choice is not implying whether people are going to eat it or they are not going to eat it. Maybe it would look better, then people might eat it. If it would look bad, people might not eat it. So, this kind of ambiguous impact cannot be the correct answer. All right. So B is out. Again, none of you chose B. I hope you have eliminated the choice for the right reason. Always remember, if you're not eliminating choices for the right reason, you're getting that question correct is not the only aim. You should get it right for the right reasons. C says for successful cultivation of, so 5% of you mark this. For successful cultivation of SPK4, a soil richer in nitrogen is needed. Okay, and this part says the current variety, okay, they don't need so much of nitrogen. However, this choice is not telling us whether this region, okay, we don't know whether the region has this condition or not. We are just being told that a certain condition is required. Okay, but whether that condition is present in this region, not present, until and unless that is given, we cannot utilize this choice to support or negate weaken. So C is out. Now we come to D. What does D say? There are no other varieties of sweet potato that are richer in beta carotene than SPK4 is. Look at this sentence, guys. Look at this part. We're already saying the varieties currently grown contain little beta carotene. So we already know that many of the other varieties do not contain, okay? There are no other varieties. So we already know this. This is a repetition. We already know that current varieties don't have much beta carotene. Also remember, your goal was not just to increase vitamin A deficiency. So if it contains more beta carotene or less beta carotene doesn't tell me if the overall nutrition is going to improve. Even if it contains less beta carotene, I mean, I'm just saying, then also nutrition might improve, might not improve. So no other variety having beta carotene does not tell us whether nutrition is going to improve. And therefore, this is incorrect choice. This is the distortion of already given choice, guys. And we discussed these different answer traps: distortion, irrelevant, out of scope, half truths, ambiguous impact in our course. At the head of the chat box, you can see I have provided links to the free trial version of our course and the links to talk to our experts, fix up a free call with our experts. You can avail of those. So D is incorrect, guys. A lot of you marked D, 40% of you. Please, those of you who marked D, is it clear why D is wrong? Is it clear why D is incorrect? It is incorrect for two very clear reasons. One, it is almost a repetition of given information. Two, it does not tell us whether overall nutrition is going to improve. So understand why you got this wrong. One is you were not reading the stimulus properly. Probably you did not remember that last small bit. And second is you were not able to pre-think in the right direction. Right. So great. And let us now look at the correct answer choice, which is E. Now, E is a little bit of a twister, so this is again very important that you understand the answer choice properly. It says currently cultivated varieties contain no important nutrients that SPK4 lacks. So this choice is in line with our second strengthener, right? This was the strengthener number 2, that agriculturists have assumed that SPK4 does not lack in any other nutrient. So we are saying if currently cultivated varieties, let's say if currently cultivated varieties, if they have vitamin B, they have vitamin C, then we are saying that SPK4 also has vitamin B, it also has C, and it also has ability to enhance vitamin A. And therefore, E is telling us that not only will SPK4 overcome vitamin A deficiency, it also contains all other nutrients. So it is going to improve overall nutrition. Once again, I'll put up the polls. Guys, do let me know if all this is clear. If you have any queries, please ask. Do let me know your thoughts on the framework, on whether you have understood the necessity of reading the stimulus properly. Anything that you feel you would like to ask, please do so before we move to the next question. In the meantime, let me also post the free trial link if any of you are interested in looking up the free trial version of our course, in case you want to see how our methodology, our pedagogy. I have shared the free trial link in the chat. And I'll also share the link where you can set up a free call with our experts in case you have any queries. Those are the 2 links that I've posted. So Prachita has asked the question, how can we do all this in 2 minutes? Prachita, you don't have to follow all 3 guidelines, but you have to definitely look at the exact plan, look at the exact goal, and use any one of the guidelines. You don't have to use all 3. The 3 are there for you to choose whichever one comes to your mind first. All right. So you don't have to literally think of 3 strengtheners. In the exam, if you can think of 1 strengthener, that's it. But what I have told you about reading the stimulus carefully needs to be done without fail. I can see a 10% of you have stated a no. What have you not understood? Please ask. Do let me know what is not clear. Guys, any queries on this question? Anything that you have not understood? I don't see any questions coming up. So I'll just reconfirm, guys. Is everything clear about this question? Is everything clear about this question? Do let me know if all of you are clear with this question. Yes, Anupam. I'll repeat answer choice E, absolutely. Now, let's look at answer choice E and understand what it is saying. It says current varieties of sweet potato. So let's say you have 2 varieties of sweet potato that are currently grown. You have SPK2 and SPK3. So this choice is saying SPK2 and SPK3 contain no important nutrients that SPK4 lacks. All right. That means if current varieties contain B and C, vitamin B and vitamin C, then this choice is saying that SPK4 does not lack vitamin B and vitamin C. Okay. That means SPK4 will also have all the nutrition which the current variety is providing. And from the passage, we already know that SPK4 also has the ability to remove vitamin A deficiency. So SPK4 will not only take care of B and C, it will also add A. So overall nutrition will improve. That is how it is strengthening the argument. Is that clear, Anupam? Do let me know, Anupam, if that is clear. And then I'm going to bring up the next question, where I'm going to leave it to you to apply the framework. So, guys, yes, Anupam, overall better. Not only it will contain all the nutrients of the current varieties, it will also have the additional varieties. Okay, you're welcome. So, guys, the framework works like this. Step 1, write it down if you want to. Step 1, identify the exact plan, how the plan works. Step 2, identify the precise goal. Step 3, there are 3 guidelines that you can think of. What happened while planning? What happened during the planning stage? What happened during the execution stage, carrying out of the plan? And what is the link between the plan and goal? All right. So if it's a demand and supply question, the link would be demand and supply. If it is a profit and loss question, or if it's a sales and revenue question, those kind of links you can think of. Okay. All right, guys. So here comes a question for you. I'll change the font. Don't worry. Your time starts now. Let me just mute myself. Try to apply the approach, guys. I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Don't do it the way you solve it. Try to apply the approach. Okay. Eunice, can you tell me what is not clear? Can you tell me what is not clear? I'm unable to make out. Okay, guys, so I'm going to count 10. And if you haven't put in your answer choices, please do that. Here goes my countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Thank you, Eunice. Okay, I guess I'll change the fonts from next time onwards. So I'm going to end the polls now. Let's see what you guys have chosen. Okay. So for on this question, none of you have chosen A. 58% of you believe the correct answer is B. 5% believe it's C. 11% believe it's D, and there is a good 23% that believes in E. So this question, guys, apart from showing you how to use the framework, I'll also point out a very common trap which you will find in plan goal questions. And this can save you many questions. Yes, we have to weaken the conclusion, Anupam. Correct. You have to cast the strongest doubt on the politician's recommendation. Yes. So, guys, there's a question I'd like to ask all of you. How many of you found the framework useful? And again, you can be honest, guys. I don't expect miracles to happen in the first use, but I would like to know how many of you found the framework helpful? At least gave you a direction to think, even if you were, kind of, all right. So I can see, and I hope you're being honest. Yes, please be honest. How many of were able to use the framework, and how many of you found it helpful? So a lot of you, yeah, my question is, how many of you found the framework giving you a little bit of clarity? And as I said, I don't expect everything to fall in place in the first go. And I'm going to again demonstrate the framework to you. But yeah, okay. So 60% of you did find it helpful. Thank you. And 40% you didn't quite find it so helpful. So I hope the other 40% I will be able to explain the use of the framework even better with the help of this question. All right, so let's get started, guys. Thank you for being honest. And here we go. So once again, the let's say the prerequisite is to understand the paragraph properly. So we'll analyze this paragraph. What are we saying? 12 years ago and again 5 years ago. That means we are talking about two time periods here. Okay. There were extended periods when Darfur Republic's currency, the Pundra. So basically, we are saying 12 years ago and 5 years ago, the Pundra. Okay. Because this is extra information about Pundra. All right. And already 12 years ago and 5 years ago covers the fact that we are talking about two periods. So two periods in the past, twice in the past, the Pundra was weak. All right. And then if you see there is a colon here. What is the significance? This part is an explanation of the part before the colon. So this part is explaining what we mean by weak. And it's important to understand that. Okay. So if the Pundra was weak means the value of Pundra was unusually, not the usual level. It was very, very low compared to the world's most stable currency. So say, for example, if I say dollar is the world's most stable currency, all right, then I'm saying that the value of Pundra was very low compared to the dollar value. This happened twice in the past. So this sentence has to be understood really clearly so that you don't read it again and again and again and again and again. All right. So bottom line here is twice Pundra was weak. Okay. Let me shorten it. Twice. Fine. Both times, so again, both those times, a weak Pundra made Darfid's manufactured products a bargain on the world market. Now, the word made clearly indicates that weak Pundra was the cause, and Darfid's products becoming a bargain on the world market was the effect of that weak Pundra. Okay, so whenever you come across such a cause and effect, you have to understand that the author is saying that the only reason that Darfid's products became a bargain was the weak Pundra. This is how the cause and effect works in CR arguments. And Darfid's exports were substantially up. That means Darfid's products became cheaper. So when Pundra became weak, Darfid's products became cheaper on the market. And Darfid was able to increase the exports a lot. So what are we saying here? We are saying that twice in the past, Pundra was weak. And both those times, because of the weak Pundra, Darfid was able to increase its exports substantially. Okay, all are facts, nothing more here. Now, some conclusions. So, we are now talking about the present. Some politicians are saying that in order to, now the moment you have in order to, it means you again have a goal here coming up. In order to cause another similarly sized increase in exports. Guys, this is very important. Similarly sized, not just increase, but similarly sized increase. The government should allow the Pundra to become weak again. So this is what the politicians are saying. Third party opinion. Now we don't know what we have to do. So the stimulus talks about what happened twice in the past. The weak Pundra led to increase in exports. Based on that, the politicians are saying that if you want to increase exports by a similar amount, you should deliberately weaken the Pundra again. So that's the plan. Okay. Now, the question stem says, which of the following, if true, provides the government with the strongest grounds to doubt the politician's recommendation? If followed, will achieve its aim. What is the aim? The aim is to achieve a similarly sized increase in exports. If we have to cast a doubt on that aim, we have to show that there won't be a similarly sized increase in exports, right? Okay. So our conclusion was, in order to cause another similarly sized increase in exports, the government should allow the Pundra to become weak again. That's leading to our conclusion because this has happened twice in the history. Okay, so the conclusion here is that a weakened Pundra will lead to increase in exports, and we have to weaken that. So the scope of the argument is any new information that shows that weakening the Pundra will not cause another similarly sized increase in exports. This is the task. The question 10 is asking us to do this. Okay. All right. Since it's a plan goal question. All right. Now, if I ask you, guys, the first step was identifying the exact plan and goal. Exact plan, in this case, the recommendation is to weaken the Pundra again. And the goal is to cause another similarly sized increase in exports. All right. Now, if I ask you what happened during the planning stage, that means the politicians who are making this recommendation, what are they thinking? You can answer me in the chat. What are they thinking? If you are the politician and you are making this recommendation, what is going on in your mind? What are you thinking? Go ahead, guys. Answer me in the chat box quickly. You are telling the government, please weaken the Pundra again. We can increase our exports in the same way. What are you thinking? Come on, guys. Yeah, so that Jasprit, you are thinking the exports will increase. That is given in the conclusion itself. I'm saying what is not given. Whenever you're trying to follow the guidelines, you're trying to think of what is not given. So, what is not given here? Anupam, weakening Pundra will increase exports is the recommendation. So, while making that recommendation, what are the politicians thinking? If you are a politician and you are saying weakening Pundra will increase exports, why do you believe that? What is going on in your mind? Why do you believe that weakening Pundra will increase exports? Okay, let me see. Salma says weakening Pundra again, this will lead to. So, Salma, that is the conclusion of the politician, and that is already given. That politicians are saying that if you want to increase, you should allow the Pundra to become weak again. So, weakening the Pundra will lead to increasing exports, is what the recommendation is already saying. Okay, Anupam says increase in production. Shubham has put it pretty well. Shubham says the politicians are thinking that we might be able to recreate previous, when I think consequences, by repeating what happened earlier. That's so. What you're trying to say, Shubham, is whatever happened in the past will happen again. Very good, Sachin Mohe. Sachin is saying demand for our goods will rise. Okay, so the politicians are thinking demand will be increasing or it will be there at least, right? Very good, Sachin. Jasprit says products will be cheaper. So, Jasprit, that though we already know that if Pundra is weakened, I think, Jasprit, what you mean is the other currencies, okay, they will definitely be more valuable than Pundra. So, if Pundra is able to remain relatively low, then the products will be cheaper. Yes. Good, Anupam, increasing production capacity must be also taken care of. Siddhi says because of past experience, they are thinking things will be the same. Decrease in Pundra will lead to, so Ruhul, decrease in Pundra will lead to increase in export is what they are saying. So that is not what they are, that is something that is already given. You have to think of what is not given. Very good, Julia. The plan will work like in the past is again like saying that they are thinking whatever happened in the past will happen in the same way. Good, Shikhar. All right, good. So, in one nutshell, we can just think that the politicians are assuming whatever played out in the past, all the conditions, all the other things that were needed to be in place. Okay, because see, this is the recommendation. Another similarly size increase in exports, Pundra become weak again. This is what they are saying. But when they are saying this, they are assuming this, that whatever happened in the past, whatever else, so whatever else would mean the demand, whatever else would mean the other currencies, what happened to them, did they remain higher in value or not? And definitely, if you want to increase the exports, the other thing is if you want to execute this plan. So while planning, they assumed, while making the recommendation, they assumed that whatever played out in the past will play out again. So a weakener would be what played out in the past will not play out again. This would be one weakener. Okay. Then we can think of execution. And as some of you have pointed out, if you want to increase your exports, you first have to make sure you have that many products. Okay. You have to not only satisfy the domestic demand, but you also should have enough surplus to export. What if the manufacturing industries cannot produce as much as they were able to produce in the past? What if the manufacturing industries cannot produce enough to achieve the similarly sized? Okay, so when you're executing, if this doesn't happen, this could weaken your recommendation. So even if you weaken the Pundra, but you don't have enough to export, then the exports won't happen. And finally, what is very important in this case is there should be demand for those goods, right? I can only export if somebody wants to buy my goods. So the politicians are also assuming that whatever kind of demand was there in the past for Darfur's manufactured products, there should be a similar demand, all right? If you want a similarly sized increase in export, there should be a similar demand for Darfur exports. So a weakener would be there isn't a similar demand for Darfur's exports. This could be another weakener. All right. So again, I'm saying, guys, the framework works a lot. The framework really works. You just have to get used to it. So and again, remember, you don't have to think of all these weaknesses in the exam, but when you're practicing, when you're learning to recognize the, such kind of constructions, at that time, you need to use such guided pre-thinking so that in the exam, you can do it faster. So that in the exam, you can do it more smoothly. All right. So guys, do let me know if all this is clear. Thank you so much for your responses. And do let me know if the explanations are all clear. Right after this question, I'm going to bring up the framework for the causality-based questions, guys. So hold on. Okay, you're clear with this. So now let us eliminate the choices. Okay. Now, what does choice A say? Again, none of you marked this, so I'm just going to rule this out quickly. Choice A in brief is saying that the politicians who are making the recommendation now made that same recommendation before. Okay. Now, this is more like a strengthener, guys. If the same politicians made the recommendation earlier and the recommendation worked, then there is this is not irrelevant. I should say this actually kind of strengthens the chances of the plan to work. All right. So this is not the correct answer. And nobody has marked this. Good. 58% of you have marked B. Okay. And I hope you have marked B for the right reason. So B is in line with our second weakener. Second weakener was, what if the manufacturing industries cannot produce enough? They cannot produce as much as they were producing earlier. So this choice tells us that earlier the MIs were producing below peak capacity. When I say earlier, we are saying several decades. So we're talking about at least 20 plus years in the past, 20 plus in past, right? They were producing well below peak capacity. So if their peak capacity was 1,000 units, they were just producing 500 units. And when the Pundra became weak in the past, they probably were able to increase the capacity to increase the exports. But we are saying Darfur's manufacturing sector is now operating at near peak levels. That means now it is already producing somewhere around, let's say, 900 units. Then it can only increase 100 units. So with an increase of 100 units, I cannot hope to achieve a similarly sized increase in exports. Therefore, B is casting a doubt. B is saying, look at this, even if Pundra is made weak, exports may not see a similarly sized increase because Darfur may not be able to produce enough to export. And therefore, B is the correct answer. So again, majority of you got that right. I do hope really that you got it right because you read your stimulus properly. You tried to use the framework and that worked for you. However, we do have a solid, let's say around 40% who have marked C, D, and E combined. And let's see where you went wrong. Again, as I said earlier, I'm going to point out a very common trap in plan goal questions. C says, C actually is talking about a country of an economy already experiencing a rise in exports, right? And it will become healthier only if the currency is strong. So this choice is saying that the economy of a country is going to be healthy only when the currency is strong. Is the health of the economy our concern? No, this is totally out of scope. The concern is, can we bring about another similarly sized increase in exports? This choice does not address that. D, 11% of you mark this. In fact, D is a strengthener, guys. D is a strengthener. And those of you who have marked D, you have not understood the premise properly. You have not understood the stimulus. We are saying those countries whose manufactured products compete with Darfur all currently have stable currencies, right? So all have stable currencies means their currency is of higher value, okay? Their currency higher value. If their currency is higher value, and if I make Pundra weak, then Pundra's products will become again a bargain on the world market. And then it will become cheaper and people will actually buy. This strengthens the politician's recommendation. And therefore, D is not the correct answer. 11% of you mark this, guys. You need to be very careful. You are probably not reading the stimulus correctly. E. Now, 23% of you marked E. Let's see why it's wrong. This says, so our current plan is, in order to cause similarly sized increase in exports, government should allow Pundra to become weak again. Let's call this plan A. Current plan. Choice is saying a sharp improvement in the efficiency of Darfur's manufacturing plants would make Darfur's products a bargain on world market without weakening Pundra. This says we don't need plan A, okay? Because there is plan B. Now, if I say we don't need plan A, okay, does this automatically weaken plan A? Just because we are saying we don't need plan A, does it mean plan A won't work? So guys, I'll ask my question. We don't need plan A. Does it mean plan A won't work? Does it mean plan A won't work? I think my question is wrong. Let me re-ask. So, is this equal to this? We don't need plan A and plan A won't work. We don't need plan A. Is it equal to saying plan A won't work? Is this equal to this? Yes or no? I'll reset my... It's not equal. Very good. This is a typical trap in plan goal questions, guys. In one of the answer choices, they will offer you another plan and say that there is another plan which can work. But if you are strengthening the current plan, if you are weakening the current plan, if you're finding the assumption behind the current plan, if you're evaluating the current plan, then bringing in plan B is a trap. It makes you feel you're weakening or strengthening, but you're not. So that sorts that. Okay. This choice is only saying there's an alternate way to increase Darfur's exports, but we are not interested in any knowing the alternate ways. We want to know the current way, will it work or not? All right. So therefore, this choice is incorrect. Okay, guys. So are you ready? So I hope the plan goal framework is clearer to you guys. You can take a quick peek. I hope the plan goal framework is clearer to you. That's my question. Is it clearer now with this question? If you want to know more about it, you can just follow up on the link of the trial version of our course and get more info about this. All right. So now we are going to next discuss the framework required for causality. And some of you were talking about what is this causal argument. So I'm going to explain the causal argument first. Okay. What is a causality? In GMAT CR, some stimulus contains cause and effect relationship. So we are basically saying event A causes event B. In that case, event A is supposed to be the cause of the effect. All right. And the effect is event B. All right. Let's look at an example. Let's say the conclusion says unusually low amount of rainfall this year caused or led to or resulted in low production of corn. Here event A is basically low amount of rainfall, and the author is saying it led to low production of corn. That's the effect. So when you have such a causality in the conclusion, okay, it is known as a causal argument. Is this clear? I'll just go step by step. Is it clear what is a causality? So Sachin, when you are ruling out one of the two closest choices, first you must keep the conclusion in sight, number one. Number two, you must keep the scope of the conclusion in sight. So the scope of the conclusion in the last question was, which choice weakens the politician's recommendation? And when you're reading the choices, you have to be very streamlined. You have to think, is this choice weakening it? So first understand the choice. If it is, even if it is two closest choice, there will be some meaning difference. So understand the meaning difference. All right. We think the choices are close, but actually there is 4 incorrect choices and 1 correct choice. All right. So guys, let me know. Some of you have mentioned you haven't understood the causality. So do ask your questions if you're not clear about the causality. My question is, once again to all of you, is it clear what is a causality? A causality is a statement that talks about a cause leading to an effect. Look at the example. So the example says low rainfall caused low production of corn. In that case, low rainfall becomes the cause and low production of corn becomes the effect. This is a very simple example of a causality in the conclusion. All right. When you have the causality given in the conclusion, only then it is a causal argument. Yes, Anupam, it should be present only in the conclusion. You can sometimes have a causality in the premise also, but we don't call that a causal argument. The causal argument will be a causal argument when cause-effect relationship in conclusion equals to, sorry, I was writing casual, causal argument. Okay. The cause-effect relationship must be a part of the conclusion, not just the premise. All right. So Anupam, that was a plan goal. All right. The cause effect was mentioned in the stimulus. Weakening of the Pundra, all right, led to an increase in the export. Yes, that was a cause effect mentioned in the stimulus. Therefore, it was not a causal argument. In the causal argument, the conclusion should contain the causality. Okay, guys. All right, let's move to the next step. So the good thing, is that you can have different assumptions in different questions, but in a causal argument, the assumptions are always the same. Okay, there are 3 assumptions that have to be there behind a causal argument. What are those? In other CR arguments, as I was saying, you can have other assumptions, but in a causal argument, the assumption is same. Let's take the example here. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds here. Read the example, guys, all of you. You're welcome, Anupam. Glad to help. Read the example, all of you. Anupam, you're correcting your sentence. Okay, that's nice. I do the same. If I find myself speaking something incorrectly, or using the wrong grammar, I find myself correcting. Good, good. Okay, guys, just read the example. I'm going to mute myself some 10 seconds. Okay, so I'm sure by now all of you have understood that in this case, the first sentence is a premise. It is telling you two things happened around the same time. There was an increase in the number of vehicles driven on the road, and there was an increase in air pollution. All right, these two things happened in the last year. Now, the author does not really tell us which one of these two happened first. The author just tells us that the number of vehicles has increased in the last 1 year along with an increase. But whether the increase happened first or whether the number of vehicles increased first, we don't know. But without giving us that information, the author is reaching the conclusion that these vehicles, the exhaust from these vehicles must be the cause that led to the increase in the air pollution level. All right, that's the conclusion. So author is drawing a cause effect relationship in the conclusion, and therefore this is a causal argument. Right? Right, guys? Is this clear? I'll just ask you this question. Do let me know. Is this clear? So in a causal argument, you will find that the conclusion contains a cause effect. All right, and notice how the author is just stating two events happening at the same time and then suddenly saying that one event caused the other event. So what are the assumptions that an author makes whenever an author draws a cause effect relationship? I'm saying whenever means in any given argument. So I'm going to use this example to point out what are the assumptions the author makes while drawing any cause and effect relationship. Okay, great. So let me move to the next. So the first assumption the author makes is event A must have happened before event B. So the author here is assuming that the increase in the number of vehicles being driven on the road must have taken place before the air pollution increased. Because if event A did not happen before event B, then the author cannot say that event A caused event B. So the author is assuming, all right, X must have happened before Y. Let's say X happened before Y, where X is the cause and Y is the effect. Assumption 2 is, and this is again always behind in any causal argument, nothing other than event A caused event B. So the author also assumes there is no other reason why the air pollution increased. Okay, there is no alternate cause that caused event B. So let's put it this way, that Z did not cause Y, Y being the effect and Z being some other cause. So remember, the author is assuming that nothing else could have increased the air pollution. Then only the conclusion stands. Finally, there is no reverse causality. That means the Y did not cause X. Guys, sorry. Y did not cause X. What does it mean? Here the author is assuming that because of increase in air pollution, people did not start using more vehicles. All right, that is something that the author is assuming, because if that happened, then the author can't say that increase in the number of vehicles being driven led to an increase in air pollution. Okay, so these are the three assumptions which is true for all CR causal arguments. Exactly, Anupam. The author is assuming that no factory effluents cause the increase in air pollution, no burning of garbage increase the air pollution, nothing else caused the increase in air pollution. Okay, it is only the number of vehicles being driven on the road that caused the air pollution. If the author had been thinking that factories can also increase the air pollution, then the author cannot state this argument. This argument would fall apart. So guys, let me know if you're clear till here. These three assumptions work in all causal argument. So what you need to do is you need to recognize that it is a causal argument. Automatically, these three assumptions will apply on that. Okay, great. So the framework next. Okay, a causal argument is one in which the conclusion contains a cause effect and the core assumption is no other cause is responsible for the stated effect. So the first step is to identify the causality. You can call your cause X, you can call your effect Y, and therefore guideline 1 is X happened before Y, no other relationship, no other correlation, no coincidence, nothing is the reason between the relationship between the two. Guideline 2 is nothing else caused Y. That means there is no alternate cause. If there were any other cause, the author could not have arrived at the conclusion. And the third guideline is there is no reverse causality. That means Y could not have caused X. This, you can take a screenshot. This is the framework that you're going to use for causal arguments. So the first step would be to understand the causality. Be very precise with what is the cause. Be very precise with what is the effect. You could go wrong here, like you can go wrong with the plan and goal. You can also go wrong with the cause and effect. So read it carefully and use these three guidelines. Are we clear so far, guys? Yes, Anupam, your assumption weakens the argument. Are we clear till here? Do let me know if you are all clear so far. Okay, so I'm going to bring up a question next. And you're going to try to apply the causality framework in this question. Try it out, okay? It won't hurt. So I'm going to mute myself. Okay, guys. I'm just going to end the poll in a moment, but let me just see. Audrey, I will just definitely post the trial version of the link once again. Just give me a moment. Here is the link to the free trial. I'm posting it in the chat, Audrey. So there's the version, free trial version link. And I'll also post the link in case you want to talk to our experts. You can set up a free call and talk to them as well. There goes the second link for the free call. Anupam, I'm sorry. So, guys, were you able to read this properly? I've just forgot to make it bold. I hope you guys were able to read it. My bad. All right, so let's look at the poll results. They are pretty interesting. So, A's 12% of you chose A. Then none of you believe the correct answer is B. 12% of you chose C. 25% of you chose D. And then I have a majority, 50% of you chose E. You're welcome, Audrey. So let's see how to use the framework on the causality question. Okay, and I'm going to be very, very precise. So you can kind of look at every step how I'm following it out. But of course, what precedes it, you have to read the argument really well. So the first sentence contains data telling us that you have crocodiles. They were brought from outside to the fauna county. That means they are not native. They are not native, number one. The next sentence, if you break it up and read, it tells you that too much of hunting by the crocodile population threatens a fish which is the only source of omega-3 for the people of that county. So lots of information here. The situation is the crocodiles are now huge in numbers. They are preying a lot. They are eating the mena fish in big numbers, and they are posing a danger to the mena population. Mena is the only source of omega-3. So we can draw an inference that the local people are suffering. They are facing a shortage in their only supply of omega-3. So far, so good. The next sentence contains the plan. Okay, county officials, what they want to do in order to tackle the problem of crocodiles eating the mena fish, they want to kill these crocodiles, and they want to do that by introducing the runa, which is poisonous to the crocodiles. Fine. And we are also told the runa is not harmful for the humans. So it's not like if the runa fish is introduced in the water is going to become poisonous for humans. No. All right. But definitely what comes to the mind is, okay, so the runa is poisonous for the crocodiles. What about, is the runa poisonous to the other stuff or the other animals in the water as well? We don't know. Let's read on. However, there is a possibility runa will harm the small native lizards. Okay, there we have it. So the however is definitely presenting a drawback to the plan. It's telling us that the runa might harm the native lizards along with harming the crocodiles. Okay, but then this is a might, so the author seems not to be very sure about it. The officials' plan, therefore, may be good for the county people, but will obviously increase the threat to native aquatic life. So this sentence includes that, therefore indicates that this is the conclusion of our sentence. Okay, but then there are two parts to this. The author says the plan may be good for the county people, but the plan will increase the danger to the native aquatic life. So it contains a cause and two effect, the conclusion. So the cause is the plan, and there are two effects. Okay. The plan may be good, the plan may be bad. This is what the author is saying. So the cause, obviously, in both cases is the plan. So one effect is it may be good for the county people. All right. How we know that their omega-3 supply will no longer be threatened by crocodiles as much as before. So that is good for the county people. Effect 2 is the threat to the native aquatic life, such as the lizards, will increase. Notice the language, it will increase. Okay. Now, if I ask you, what is the main intention of the author? Which of the two effects is the main conclusion and behind which you have to find the assumption? What is the main intention of the author? Effect 1 or effect 2? You can answer me in the chat box, guys. Which of the two effects is the main conclusion? Okay, Jaspreet says effect 2, Anupam 2, Ruhul 2, Julia 2. How about the others, guys? Very important that you have the conclusion very clear in your mind, as I said earlier. The others, do tell me, what is the main conclusion? Effect 1 or effect 2? Audrey says effect 1. How about the others, guys? Richa also says effect 1 is the main conclusion. Shikhar says 1. Okay. All right. Now, here's two things that we have to notice. Number one, effect 1 has the language may be good. So the author is not really very sure about that effect. Second, the increase in danger is bound to happen. The author uses a will. So the author is definitely sure about that. This is reason 1 why the second effect is the main conclusion. Because if the main conclusion was good for county people, the author will not write the but. Okay. So the entire sentence, if you read it, the main purpose is very clearly to tell us that the plan will increase the threat to the native aquatic life. It may or may not be good for the county people, but it will definitely increase the danger to native aquatic life. Is this clear, guys? Is this clear? That effect 2 is the main conclusion. You know, one of the most important things that we teach at GMATViz is to emphasize on the conclusion, to get it very, very clear, to fix the scope of the conclusion clearly before you proceed. Yes, Anupam, the word but is a very, very good indicator here, showing that the author doesn't end in the first clause itself, but the author has something bigger to add. Okay, great, guys. Thank you. So let me now proceed with the rest of it. So now that we have identified what the plan, what the author is saying here, what the cause is and what is the effect, okay, we can proceed with the framework. So the cause is to introduce Runa, which is poisonous for the crocodiles. So, and the effect is it will increase the threat to the native aquatic life. Look at the language. We are saying it will increase. If you say it will increase the threat, it means you're accepting that there is already a threat. And the paragraph does say that there is a possibility that the Runa will harm the small native lizard. All right. So guideline 1 is X happened before Y. This is not applicable here because the plan has not been put into action yet. All right. Let's move to guideline 2. No alternate cause can lead to the stated effect. All right. Now, pay attention to how I am arriving at the assumption. Hold on. So, guideline 2 is no alternate cause can lead to the stated effect. What is the stated effect? This is the stated effect. So, basically, I'm saying no alternate cause can lead to the increase in threat to the native aquatic life, right? So the assumption is, the author assumes this, that nothing else at present can cause an increase in the threat to the native aquatic life. Notice how I am using the same language. no alternate cause can lead to the stated effect means nothing else at present can cause an increase in the threat to the native aquatic life. So, in other words, the assumption is there is no other bigger threat to the native aquatic life than the introduction of poisonous runa. Nothing else a bigger threat. Because we already know there is a threat, the word is increase, right? So we are saying that nothing else can increase the threat to native aquatic life the way the introduction of runa can increase. So, in other words, you're saying that the existing situation is not as threatening to the the native aquatic life. Existing situation is crocodiles are preying on the mena. Now, what if the native lizards are also being preyed by the crocodiles? What if the native lizards are also being preyed upon by the crocodiles? Then, by introducing runa, you can save them from a bigger threat, right? And that would break your conclusion. So, the assumption is crocodiles not a current bigger threat. Is this clear, guys? Let me know, because the process has to be understood. So Anupam, never ignore those words. Do let me know, guys, if you are clear how I arrived at this assumption. Look at it, read it properly, don't hurry. The hurry kills our understanding, because you need to apply this in many more questions to come. A lot of you are saying you haven't understood, so I think I'm just going to repeat what I have explained, okay? All right. Here goes my explanation. So our second guideline was no alternate cause, right? That means our second guideline was nothing else can cause the effect. All right. So if I just use that language, I'm going to use this language. No alternate cause can lead to the stated effect. So what is the stated effect? The stated effect is this part, no? Increase the threat to native aquatic life. So I'm going to join this plus this. And I'm going to say the author assumes that nothing else at present, that means no alternate cause, can cause, and what is the stated effect? Increase in the threat. So I'm just writing this. This is the stated effect. This is the stated effect. And I am saying nothing else can cause the stated effect. So nothing else can cause an increase in the threat to native aquatic life. Increase. If you're saying nothing else can cause an increase, that means nothing in the current situation, right, can cause an increase in the threat to native aquatic life. Only the introduction of runa fish is going to increase. All right. So you're saying nothing else poses a bigger threat, because if something else is a bigger threat, then you can't say that runa will increase the threat. So if runa will increase the threat, means nothing else will increase the threat. So first assumption is nothing else poses a bigger threat to the native aquatic life. Now already we know that the crocodile population is threatening mena, but we don't know if the crocodile is also threatening the small lizard. So we are saying, what if the small lizards are also being threatened by the crocodiles? Then runa can save them from the bigger threat. If you kill crocodiles, you are reducing the native aquatic life, the threat to the native aquatic life. In that case, your conclusion will break down. All right. So we are assuming that crocodiles are not a current bigger threat. So do let me know, guys, if the explanation is clear now. Is the explanation clear now? Do let me know if the explanation is clear now. We are assuming that the crocodiles that are there in the water, they are not harming the native lizard. All right. And if that assumption was incorrect, then we wouldn't be saying that by killing crocodiles, we are actually harming native lizards. Okay, great. So, okay, let's move to the next. Guideline number 3, no reverse causality. So the author here is also assuming that the small lizards are not going to cause any harm to the Runa fish. We are saying that there is a possibility Runa will harm, right? And that is why we are saying that the plan is going to increase the threat to native aquatic life. That means the author is also assuming that in no way is the small lizard going to cause harm to Runa. Because if the lizards harm Runa, then the Runa cannot increase the threat to the native lizards. All right, and then the conclusion would break down. That's our second assumption. So with those two assumptions, we are now going to move to the elimination stage. 12% of you marked A. 12%, just give me a moment, guys. Just give me a moment, I'll just be back. Sorry, guys, there was some interruption there. Okay. So this says the officials have not been able to come up with an alternative plan. Remember, we are talking about the current plan causing harm to the, increasing the threat to the native aquatic life. Does it have to be true that the officials were not able to come up with an alternative plan? No, this does not tell us in any which way that whether the threat is going to increase or not. All right. This has no impact on the conclusion. If I negate it, even if the officials did come up with an alternative plan, they didn't use it, right? What plan they are thinking of using is to introduce the Runa. So this is totally out of scope and not the correct answer. Is this clear, guys? Those of you who marked A. Those of you who marked A as the correct answer. Are you clear why A cannot be the answer? We're talking about an alternative plan. All right. But we have to show the assumption behind the current plan. So this is incorrect. Thank you. Let me move to the next choice. Nobody chose B. Controlled experiments have proved the ability of Runa to bring down the crocodile population by a significant percentage. Again, remember, it is an assumption. So we have to ask ourselves, is this necessary? Is this a necessary condition? Does it have to happen that controlled experiments have to prove the ability of Runa? No. Okay. So it kind of would support the plan that Runa can kill the crocodile population, but our conclusion is that the Runa will increase the threat. So this is not even touching upon that, and therefore it's not an assumption. Nobody chose B. C. 12% of you chose this. Guys, Runa, how it harms the small lizards? My bad here. So the Runa fish often prey on the eggs of the small lizards, thus reducing their population, is just telling us, confirming this part. We already know that it may harm. Okay. So this choice is not giving us any new information that can tell us how the threat will increase. All right. So this is also a distortion of already given information that the Runa may harm small lizards. And again, this doesn't have to be true. Remember, this is an assumption. Is this a must be true condition? No. even if the Runa does not prey on the small lizards, we already know that there is a possibility it can harm the small lizard, maybe some other way. And we know that it will definitely increase the threat. How? We don't know that. So C is out. 25% of you chose D. Crocodiles currently do not face the threat of predation from any animals in Fauna County. Now here we are talking about crocodiles. Are they in danger or not? Let's see. If I negate this, the crocodiles currently face the threat of predation from some animals in Fauna County. Now, what kind of animals? Are they land animals? If the land animals prey on crocodiles, then if the land animals prey on crocodiles, then by killing the crocodile, you're reducing the supply of the land animals, right? So the wildlife is going to suffer, but we are concerned with the native aquatic life. So this has no impact on the conclusion. If we are saying the predators of the crocodiles are aquatic animals, then we are reducing the aquatic animals' food by killing crocodiles. Then the aquatic life would suffer, and this might strengthen our conclusion that the plan will increase the threat. But then, because there is a dual impact, this choice is out. 25% of you chose this. Guys, I hope you're clear why D is incorrect. So I'm just going to put up a poll for that. Do let me know if you're clear with D. Okay, great. So the correct answer is E, and majority of you got that right, 50% of you. It is along our first assumption. For the native lizard population, excessive predation by crocodile is not the most current, no, the biggest current threat. Okay, and this is the correct answer. I've already explained how we came up with this assumption. When we say that Runa is going to increase the threat, you are automatically assuming nothing else will increase the threat. Nothing else includes no other things that is going on at present. So guys, do let me know if all is clear and you're ready for the next question. Are you ready for the next question where you can apply this causality framework? The next question is going to be a strengthened question, and I'm going to point out the framework for a strengthened causality question. So here's the framework for a strengthened. Just now we discussed the framework for assumption causal arguments. This is 5 ways of strengthening causal arguments. Strengthening, okay? And first, the 3 of the strengtheners are built along the lines of the 3 assumptions. So we've already discussed no reverse causality, no alternate cause, right? These 2 we've already discussed. Another way of strengthening the causal argument is to show there is no cause, no effect. If X does not happen, Y also does not happen. That is one way of strengthening it. Or to show that if X happens, then Y also happens in other cases. So that also strengthens the causality. Sometimes data is given directly to show that the cause effect works. All right. In that case, you are directly strengthening the conclusion. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, you can do that, guys. I'll definitely make the question bold this time, Anupam. I'm definitely going to make it bold. But in the meantime, if you guys want to kind of note down these 4 or 5 ways of strengthening, please do that while I'm making my upcoming question bold. Hold on a second. Where is my upcoming question? Yeah, got it. So just give me a moment, guys, while I make this bold, and I also change the font. Just give me a moment. I hope you are taking down the framework for the strengthening a causal argument. Okay. So if you have taken that down, let me bring up here is the question that I want you to try or Rule, the recording will be made available to you. Usually you are registering for these webinars using your email ID. So you will usually be sent a link. You'll get it on YouTube. Okay, guys, I'm going to mute myself. Go ahead. Okay, guys, so I've given you enough time and I hope you are ready with your answers. I'll quickly just count 10 so that if you haven't posted your answers, you will. But then very clearly, it seems that you're not reading the stimulus properly, guys. A lot of you have marked different answers here. I mean, if I stop this, so I'm going to count 5 first. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, let's look at the polls. So 12% of you have gone for A, 12% have gone for B, and now here's the funny part. C, D, and E, each 25% of you believe is the correct answer. So very clearly, you haven't understood the stimulus, guys. Yes, I'll share the trigger. So just give me a moment. I'll finish the discussion on this, Anupam, and I'm definitely going to share the link to that blog, the quantifiers. In fact, if you just type GMATViz blog, you'll get lots of different articles there on verbal and all. And in that article, you'll get an article on quantifier. But I'll definitely give you the direct link. So, guys, let's get started with understanding the stimulus here. See, we are saying a certain cultivated herb. Let's call the herb, let's call it herb only. Okay. So this herb is one of a group of closely related plants. Group of closely related plants. Let's call this GP. So herb belongs to GP, and GP thrives, that means grows in soil with high concentration of metals that are toxic to most other plants. This is other plants, OP. So let's understand. If I'll just draw this diagram, because let's say you have other plants. This is other plants, okay? And then you have the group of closely related plants. This is GP. And herb is a part of GP, right? Herb is a part of this GP. Now we are saying that this GP grows, thrives, not just grows, thrives. Thrives means grows well in toxic soil, right? But this does not grow. This soil is toxic to other plants, but this is not toxic to the group of closely related plants or the herb. Is this part clear, guys? How many of you understood it like this? I'm going to ask this question. How many of you understood it like this? The first statement. If you understood it exactly like this, mark a yes. If you went wrong anywhere understanding this portion, mark a no. Great. So if all of you understood this, let's see where you went wrong. Okay. Then we are saying, so here the stimulus is providing factual information about plants, and which I've just drawn the diagram. Then we are told that agronomists studying the growth of this herb have discovered that herb produces histidine. So herb produces histidine, okay? And then we are given some data about what this histidine is. It's an amino acid, and in test tube solutions, it is rendering these metals chemically inert. Chemically inert means histidine works on the toxic soil and, let's say, deactivates it. Okay. All right. So this also, I'm sure most of you understood. And then the author draws the conclusion. Hence, the herb's high histidine production, that means this, must be the key feature. Key feature means is the cause. Okay, is the cause that allows it means allows herb to grow in metal rich soil. So basically the conclusion is saying that the cause is production of large amounts of histidine, and the effect is the herb can grow in metal rich toxic soil. Again, my question is, how many of y'all have understood the situation till here exactly like this? Exactly like this. How many of you have understood it exactly like this? If you have, then let's see where you went wrong. You need to identify every step that you are doing, and you need to identify which step you're going wrong. So how many of you understood it exactly like this? If you did not get it exactly like this, then state a no, otherwise state a yes. Please be honest. It will help you. How many of you understood the cause and effect exactly like this? That the cause is production of high amounts of histidine, and the effect is the herb can grow in metal rich toxic soil. All right, so none of you understood it like this, right? Okay, the polls are still working, so let me wait for about 10 seconds. Put in the polls, guys. If you understood the entire stimulus exactly like this, if you drew the conclusion exactly like this, and if you drew the cause and effect exactly like this, mark yes. If you deviated on any of the steps, mark no. All right, so now I can see the polls is telling me 66% of you understood it like this, 33% of you did not understand it like this, and yet I don't have a majority. I have 25% thinking C, D, E, and then 12% thinking A and B. So guys, I'm going to give you one more chance. Now that you have understood it properly, let me take you back to the question, and I am going to give you one more chance of answering this question. Okay, guys? So you have one more minute to reconsider the answer choices. I'm going to mute myself. You have one more minute to change your answer choices if you want to. Go ahead. I want you to look at the new understanding of the passage that you've had and then choose the answer choice. Okay, guys, I'm just going to end the poll, but I'm posting the link to the uh, article on the usage of words like some, most, and all. All right. So Anupam and somebody else also asked me at the beginning. I think it was Parichita. So I have posted the link to the article on quantifiers and qualifiers. Words like all, most, some, how they are used. All right, Anupam. So I'm going to now look at the polls. Guys, please put in your answer choices. So now I have a change in the polls. I have 33% believe A is the correct answer, 16% believe B is the correct answer, 16% believe C is the correct answer, but instead of, and nobody now believes D is the correct answer, but 33% believe E is the correct answer. So now the division is mostly between A and E, which is definitely a change than compared to the previous. So let me discuss this. Okay. As already discussed, the cause is the production of large amount of histidine, and the effect is the herb can, because of the histidine, because the herb is growing, herb is producing histidine, it is able to grow. Let's look at the framework. So the cause is production of large amounts of histidine. The effect is herb can grow in metal-rich soils, which are toxic to most other plants. Now, the first framework that we, first guideline in the framework that we use is Y did not cause X. For example, in this case, we are saying nothing other than histidine caused the herb to grow in the toxic soil. For example, I'm thinking that, oh, sorry, my bad. Y did not cause X is reverse causality. So I'm thinking that the metal-rich soil was not producing high quantity of histidine. Is this clear? So if any choice says this, it will be the answer. Okay. Y did not cause X means the toxic soil did not cause histidine production. Okay. Number one. Next is we are saying Z did not cause Y. That means no alternate cause. That means, say for example, we are saying the herb does not have any special adaptation, any other special adaptation that can be considered as key tool, right? We are saying that herb's high histidine production must be the key tool that allows it to grow. So we are saying the herb does not have any other tool that can be considered as key survival tool. So no other cause. C is no X, no Y. So if we show that histidine is absent in other plants that cannot thrive, we don't know right now, we don't know if other plants have histidine, right? So if we can show that the plants that cannot grow in the toxic soil don't have histidine, then also we can strengthen the causality. Or if we prove that wherever there is X, then there is Y. So for example, if we prove that histidine is present in other plants that thrive, that means GP. If we prove that GP has histidine as well, then also we can strengthen our causality. Please let me know if this is clear, guys. You don't have to think all of this in the exam. Any one will do. Guys, let me know if this is clear. Take a moment to absorb this. Let me know if it is clear. When you are practicing, guys, then do use the framework to broaden your thinking so that by the time you sit for the exam, you're already habituated to it. Nothing happens in one day. It takes time. You have to make sure that you're initiating yourself, you're broadening your way of thinking. Okay. Great, thank you for that. So let us now see what our choices say. 33% of you marked this. This cannot be the answer, guys. The herb can thrive in soil that does not have high concentration of toxic metal. So the cause is histidine, and the effect is grow in toxic soil. Is this choice saying that the cause is absent and the effect is absent? Herb can thrive, this is the effect. All right. But where is the cause? The toxic metal is not the cause. So A does not have any impact on our conclusion. Remember, if you have to show no cause, no effect, okay? So you're saying, or if you can show if cause, then effect, right? So effect you're mentioning, where is the cause? A doesn't mention the cause, right? So A is not the answer. Guys, is this clear why A is not the answer? There are two ways of proving, one of the two of the four ways, there are two ways where you can say if cause then effect, no cause, no effect. In this choice, you are saying the effect is there, but nothing is mentioned about the cause. Therefore, this choice is totally out of scope. It doesn't actually touch your reasoning at all. Okay. So A is out. Let's see. So read the choices carefully as well, guys. B, the herb's high level of histidine production is associated with, it's related with unusually low level of production of some other amino acid. But since we don't know how the other amino acid is impacting the growth of histidine, this choice is also out of scope. This says histidine is associated with low level of some other amino acid. But how this low level of amino acid is affecting the growth, we don't know. So we don't know the role of histidine, we don't know the role of amino acid, therefore this is out of scope. Let's go to C. Growing the herb in soil with high concentration of metal will over time. That means first grow herb, then toxicity will reduce. But how will it grow first? Is this choice proving that? Our goal is to support that the causality is histidine. This choice is saying first you grow the herb, but how to grow the herb first? So C is also out of scope. Guys, is C clear to you? Is C clear to you guys? Let me know in the polls. Is C clear? Why it is not the answer? It's telling you first you have to grow the herb, but how do I grow the herb? The conclusion is telling me that the histidine helps the herb to grow. This choice is not telling me how the herb will grow in the first place. What will happen to the toxicity after the herb is grown, that's a different matter. And we already know that that the histidine is causing the metals to become inert. But whether the histidine is actually the cause behind the growth of the herb, that we have to prove. Okay. Next, D. Concentration of histidine in the growing herb declines as the plant reaches maturity. Thankfully, now, funny thing is, first attempt, 25% of you marked this as the answer. Second attempt, 0%. So you see how much difference understanding the argument properly, being precise with the conclusion, being very precise with the cause effect, using the framework can help. D is not the correct answer, guys. Okay? I mean, this again, we don't know what helps the herb to grow in the first place. Okay, the after growing the herb, the concentration of histidine will go down, but how is the herb growing? That is not being brought out. So this is out of scope. So I hope you guys can, none of you marked B in the second round. And that is a very, very important takeaway here, that if you have understood the stimulus well, you will not choose the wrong answer. Guys, clear? D clear? Let me know if D is clear. By now, you already know that the correct answer is E. And earlier, only 25% of you had chosen, but later on, 33% of you chose. This clearly points out that if X, then Y. Others of closely related group of plants, the GP, also produce histidine, right? So if cause, then effect. And therefore, E is the correct answer. Do let me know, guys, if this is clear or if you have any other queries. Yes, Anupam, I think C and D were pretty similar. So do let me know if all of this is clear, guys. You'll need to practice this, guys. Don't think that miracles are going to happen in one day. CR, but yes, I would certainly suggest that broaden your way of thinking while you are practicing CR. Broaden it so that in the exam you will be able to think. Half the time what happens is students refuse to accept a method thinking right at the beginning that, oh, this is going to take a lot of time. You haven't even practiced it. You cannot reduce time on something that you don't even know. So all these processes are about following the intended meaning, about the frameworks. You need to practice it during your learning stage, your practicing stage, so that in the exam it becomes smooth, guys. All right, wonderful. So that brings us to the end of this session, guys. Here is some more detail where you can contact us, and I will just quickly repost the trial links and the Calendly link. So the first link that I'm posting is the link to the free trial version of our course. Please try it out if you want to find out more about how we go about our pedagogy. And if you want to talk to our experts regarding anything, feel free to set up a free call using this link that I have posted next, calendly.com. If you want to reach out to us, you can write to support@gmatviz.com, or you can also contact us on that WhatsApp number. Any other queries you have, guys, I will be most happy to answer this. Yes, Anupam, Rome wasn't built in a day. Absolutely. Practice things so that you can perfect your methodology. Ad hoc basis of solving CR won't work in the exam. You just panic when you see questions that are difficult or you don't. And again, one of the first things that I was trying to establish today was you need to read the stimulus properly. You need to read a single sentence properly. So use your sentence correction skills in CR as well. Guys, do let me know how you found this session. Next, I think we have a session coming up on reading and comprehension. This will be so next weekend. Yeah, next weekend I have a webinar, same time, same day, Saturday, 7 o'clock. We'll be looking at reading and comprehension. Most welcome, Julia. Guys, thank you, all of you. I don't know how many of you are still here, but I can see some of the names. Hari, Anupam, Sachin, Julia, Shikhar, Shivam, Shelly, Richa, Jaspreet, Cyrus. These are some of the names that I can see at my end. Thank you for being such a good audience, such an interactive audience, such an honest audience. And it was fun to discuss this with you. I kind of lost track of time totally. So, most welcome, guys, all of you. And would love to, so wishing all of you the very best in your preparation for GMAT. May you be able to do your best. Uh, have faith in yourself. Always go with a strategy. Always go with an approach into the exam. All right. Stay calm. So, Sachin, GMAT offers private tutoring, right? That is, you can take on a one-on-one tutoring with any of the mentors. I too take private tutoring sessions and you can avail of this for both quant and verbal. You can just visit the website and find out more about it. But we do have private tutoring sessions. Most welcome, guys, all of you. Thank you so much for your encouragement. And I'll definitely try to bring up more such sessions in future, guys. The next one coming up is the art of involved and evolved reading next Saturday, 7 p.m., where we're going to talk about how to use the SC skills and the CR skills in order to gain accuracy in RC. All right, guys. So thank you so much once again. And I'll bid all of you a very good night. And have a very happy next week, guys. See you around again. Have a good day if your day has just begun, and a good night if you're about to hit the bed. Bye bye. Take care.